The two very best players for their respective races are facing off against each other in a best-of-5 finals. Spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, playing in blue, playing with Protoss, we have none other than herO. Spawning in the upper left with the red, well, SCVs and the polar bear and all the rest of it. I'm glad the polar bear is back. Remember the outrage in the YouTube comment section when Clem didn't... Why did the camera suddenly scroll to the right? When Clem did not have the polar bear on the main CC for a couple of casts. I'm very glad we've gone back to it. I think he may have played on another account for a moment, and it was just not the same. Yeah. The decals are apparently part of the player. Most of the time, actually, herO has been playing with the Zest decal, spinning around on the main Nexus. I think that may be on the Korean server. Usually when we have Europe going up against Korea, we play on the American server, so both players have a similar amount of ping. So I would imagine this is probably their NA account. Meaning that it's equally unfair. Or equally fair for both of them. Now, this particular series is the finals of the Pegasus Cup 63. It's a $400 near weekly tournament. Meaning that the winner of this series takes home $200. The loser gets 100, and I believe the third and the fourth place, I believe they get $50 each. Pretty neat little cup, though, and it is, of course, something that the top-level players participate in all the time. herO trying to be a jerk with that probe. Softening up a bunch of the SCVs, hoping he can maybe trigger a few of the other SCVs to do a bit of damage output. Now he's going to continue being a prick by blocking the low-ground command center. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've got the Nexus coming up. Zealot first as well by herO. Okay. You never really know what herO you're going to get. Sometimes he's just wild and very free-flowing, and it seems like that's where we're headed now. Lately, though, he's been playing a lot more what we consider to be conventional. Super aggressive with the probe. Zealot blindly is a little odd. Zealot blindly is nice if you expect that your opponent could be going for some sort of cheese. Otherwise, it's considered to be a wasted 100 minerals. Do we go for a second adept? We do. Waiting right now for the Reaper to come into the main base. Not the case. Clem has decided, though, that we are going to go for the bunker. Jimmy is already waiting to see if he can go inside of the bunker. But the Zealot is going to be joining that adept now, and it can definitely be a nuisance. Seeing the bunker, though, yeah. I wonder if that's just going to trigger a full-on retreat. Obviously, all these Terran units are ranged. The Zealot is not. Fun fact, actually, every single one of the Terran units, other than the SCV, is ranged. Yeah. Men with gun. Ooh, saving the SCV right here inside of the command center, popping it out on the safe side. We do get some nice target firing here by the both of them, but I do believe that Clem is going to be able to win this little skirmish. Second adept does show up. We can't go into the command center right now, unless you want to cancel the orbital, but that goes a bit far. Oh, we have Dark... Okay, Dark Shrine. Proxy Dark Shrine. That's the scouting probe, by the way. The jerk from the early game is back for more. Building all of the stuff now in the bottom left-hand corner. Yeah, it's hard to be a fan of StarCraft and not be a fan of herO. Now, of course, normally, Dark Templar are not the common follow-up. The normal follow-up for Terran, or for Protoss against Terran, as we do get another SCV kill here, not too shabby. Finally, that worker goes down. The normal follow-up is Blink. This is Blink, but of course after the Dark Shrine. Proxy Gateway is going to allow herO to get the speed warp in. So those Dark Templar are going to be riding across the map very quickly. How many scans will there be available for Clem? Clem does like opening up with a blind Raven. Not the case this time around. We do get a tech lab now. Double tech lab, but I think that's going to be for Stimpak and combat shields. And regardless, a Raven is not going to be done in time. Bring out the Invisible Man. There's only one of them, and he's hiding behind the line of sight of the Dark Shrine. Maybe, though, Clem is going to be able to pick up some information here. There's only one Dark Templar being warped in because of this. He expects Blink to be finished at this point in time. Not the case. In the meantime, the Hellions, ooh, doing a bit of a probe barbecue. The probes have been forced, though, but now the Dark Templar arrives on the other side. How many scans do we have? We have none. Raven now, though, about halfway finished. Clem realizing something is a little bit messy. Hellions, in the meantime, do get killed. Suddenly, there's indeed that invisible unit inside of the main. Raven is a permanent mobile detector. Unless, of course, it gets killed. So I think this is still a pretty good situation here for Clem. Yeah, the fact that he actually went for the Raven. He expected, I think, that Blink was done on the other side of the map. And when he realized this wasn't, there's two options. Either your opponent is bad at the game, or they're spending their money elsewhere. And against herO, yeah, when there's smoke, there's fire. It could really only be the Dark Templar follow-up, and even if it isn't, the Raven is still a nice unit to have. Okay, so where do we end up now? The main problem here for Protoss is that there is no third Nexus. Normally, Terran will go up against the Protoss on 3 bases at this point in time. Not the case at all. As a matter of fact, herO is doubling down even more on 2 bases. Going into the Templar archives, researching charge right now on the back of this as well. Clem should fire up the combat shields. There it is. Yes, important not to forget. +1 infantry attacks needs to be fired up with the next 100 gas. But this leads to a very conventional follow-up right now for Clem. Whereas what herO is doing here is a little bit out in the open. He's gonna have a bunch of High Templar with Storm. And obviously they can deal a lot of damage. But it means that he is still indeed going to be in the driver's seat. Whereas Clem can just kind of chill. Now, there is a chance that Clem is going to move out in a moment, right? So he may move out with Stimpack and combat shields done. If that's the case, he may run dead against Storm in the middle of the map. Interestingly enough, what Clem should do right here is nothing. Just keep sitting at home. And yeah, keep building up whatever you have already. Third Nexus does fire up eventually, though, for herO. How many Templar do we have at the moment? He's waiting to see if the Raven comes across the map, but even the Raven has not been used aggressively. Third Command Center fires up. I think Clem is doing all the right things. It's easy to think, okay, I've just taken a bunch of damage from the Dark Templar. I need to go out into the map and do something. But I think time has taught here that you shouldn't. Especially for somebody like Clem, I think it's difficult for him to sit at home and do nothing. Clem always likes to be out on the map. It's the same with Bjorn, you know? If Bjorn has Medivacs, he's gonna be out on the map. But it's not always the right thing. Big Terran army now, though. +1 infantry attacks is not too far behind. And while he does need to be a little bit careful against the Psy Storms, we have 6 High Templar. 7 High Templar, even. It's 8 Zealots and 7 High Templar. Pretty much is the entire army right now here for herO, which is... I mean, unless you get the Storms of a lifetime, it's not ideal. Clem is paying attention. He's gonna see the first Templar, I think, on this ramp. Maybe on the other side of this. Oh, this could still work for herO. I don't think it will, though. Nah. He did get the feedback surprise. Okay, fair enough. Oh, the High Templar. Okay, they get dived on. Zealots are gonna try and chase this Terran army down. Stimpack is already worn off. Siege Tank is gonna get saved. Nice movement right there by Clem, waiting until the last possible moment before picking it up. So many Templar, but just not that much of a buffer. Oy, oy, oy. I mean, it's still a bloodbath, though, on the side of the Terran here. Not too shabby. Third Command Center, in the meantime, is flown on down to the low ground. Third Nexus here for Protoss. Up and running for some time already. Clem did overmake SCVs on 2 bases, so he could transfer them straight to the third. This is still scary, though, here. herO's army is surprisingly big. Zealots are just not an easy unit to play against. SCVs are going to get sliced up in that mineral line here if Clem doesn't run them. Oh, I wouldn't mind seeing a Storm onto the mineral line itself, to be honest, even though it's going to probably clip some of the Zealots. So much, yeah, there we go. So much damage is being done. Okay. In the meantime, the Archons are added into the mix. That's the High Templar that ran out of energy. Clem is going to try and see if he can potentially capitalize on this. Ooh, considering slicing that army's retreat path in half, but he didn't really want to fight it. Unloading against charge slots and Archons. Very sketchy. And this is now turning into a nice little macro game. herO's economy is significantly better now than Clem's. Clem's army, though, is still massive. Free High Templar in the middle of the map. Clem's Medevacs got feedbacked, right? A while ago. They got fat back. I think that should be... Ooh, that should be... the past tense. And it means that Clem does not get a lot of healing out of those units right now. All of his troops are low HP. And I think it's probably time to go home. He is going to get some High Templar and an Archon for his trouble still. Oh, this is so much damage, though, done by herO. He shows up with reinforcements. Normally, while this is happening, the Medevacs are healing, but these Medevacs have just not had any energy. The feedback's right there from herO earlier, turning out to be very nice. The transition is double Colossus right now. Clem is finally getting the ghosts up and running. Not a bad idea. The problem is, are they not just a little bit too late? I mean, they're always going to be handy. This is a good counterattack, though, here by Clem. I think this 4th Nexus is actually in trouble. A lot of reinforcing Terran units also do show up. We get some nice stutter step micro. Enough Zealots, I think, to keep this still at bay. There's another storm. Getting a good bit of damage in. Okay. 4th Command Center in the meantime for Clem. Clem not really remaking a lot of the lost workers. So he did lose 28 of those bad boys. herO now up to 76. Despite losing 11. I like the income here better. And this is a beautiful series so far. You can tell that these guys are just super evenly matched. Not really running into any real problems. Now that is a ambitious Nexus in the far top right. Not gonna happen. No cancel. 400 minerals down the drain. Colossi don't have their ranged upgrade just yet, by the way. And yeah, Clem, he is not prepared for the Colossi whatsoever. The Zealots charge at that army. GG gets cold. It is herO who wins game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Mothership. With the good old guitar solo in the background. That's a beautiful song. Oh no. Are we gonna do what I think we're going to do? So this was supposed to be an early game probe scout. This worker went to the top left-hand corner first, didn't find the Terran. Clem. I feel like Clem hates playing against herO so much. They face off against each other all the time, and obviously you get tested, right? But you don't really get tested in like the mechanical sense. You get tested mentally quite a lot. And herO has gotta be exhausting to play against. The scouting worker turns out to be the cheeser. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that enjoy playing against herO. It's not such a bad idea. herO probably loves it, though. Yep, Proxy Gate. Good old Proxy Gate. Now, Clem hasn't seen that there is indeed a chrono boost here happening on the Cybercore. So this is just going to be gateways. Triple gateway. Not quite all in, but certainly, let's call it dedicated pressure. That's what Blizzard always called it. Whenever Blizzard wrote a blog post about StarCraft 2 back in the day, rather than calling anything cheese, they called it dedicated pressure. Which apparently is the politically correct term to use instead of cheese. Anyways. This is still nice, though, here for Clem, getting a good bit of damage done. Six probes and more are falling as we have the next wave of Terran units showing up. Clem, okay, he was supposed to be the bullied, but he became the bullier. Or the bully. If only there was a word for that. The bully. And this is a lot of workers, man. 13 probes. Now, in the meantime, we did get a warp in on the other side of the map. Stalkers are starting to be a bit of a nuisance here, but I really love the Widow Mine. The Widow Mine cutting off the retreat. Do you bring a probe? Oh, we do bring a probe. This is Probius ready to valiantly sacrifice himself for the greater good. Pay your respects to Probius by hitting the like button below the video. Pay your respects to Probius. Amazing. Okay, he's already dead. Never mind. Stalkers are going to be able to break through. Widow mines are annoying, but now there's a siege tank, which may be even more so. Yeah. I think this works out for Clem in the end. Clem did deal a lot more damage on the other side. And while this is all annoying, the siege tank makes it so difficult now for Protoss really to continue. Yeah, you don't want to let those adepts in. Second siege tank out. Siege tank over here. Okay, does take critical amounts of damage. Nice retargeting, though, by the Terran. Gotta be careful you don't accidentally blast your own SCVs out, but... Yet again, a very bloody game between these two. Look at herO go. He actually sent in more adepts, and he's actually poking so many SCVs here as well. There's a surprising amount of workers falling after I thought that this was pretty much held. Recall? Do we recall? Nah, he's thinking about it, but I think it's too late now. We get one more worker. Yeah, okay. So, as the dust settles... Okay, these adepts are an overextension. As the dust settles, both players have lost a similar amount of workers. herO, however, did lose a lot more resources in total. But you know what you can do to fix that problem? Dark Shrine! Yeah, of course you go Dark Shrine. Seriously, imagine making your way through the tournament bracket. You get to the grand finals, you're like, okay, let's go, right? Like, this is every day for Clem. And then you see your opponent is herO. He's gotta hate it so much. Clem is known to be a bit of a rager from time to time. Now, he does see the Dark Shrine, so that's nice. But it's gotta be the absolute worst guy to see on the other end of the bracket. Stalkers are gonna be able to finish the job here. The Marines on the other side of the force field line, yeah, they're gonna get all sniped. What about the Dark Templar? Do we even go for them? I mean, they've been spotted. Okay. No third command center yet. No third nexus, although I think the nexus, there it is indeed going to start. And I still like this position here quite a lot for Clem. I think this is fine. One Dark Templar is just gonna poke in. It's like, hey, haha, chase me. Haha, come chase me. It worked. Run. I love herO games. Very strong little brother energy. I don't know if he is the, I don't know if he has any siblings, but as a fellow little brother myself, I think, yeah, probably. By the way, you know what you need to do when your Dark Templar opener has been spotted? You double down and go Shadow Strike. Naturally, that's what you do. Okay, well, ultimately, he did die. Dark Command Center, by the way, was fired up during all of this. Yeah, and if you look at this game objectively, it's actually really good for Clem. Similar to the previous one, but even, yeah, to a further extent, right? Obviously, he ended up losing the previous game in the end. That was a quick Storm follow-up. Storm is always annoying. No Storm to worry about, though, this time around, and Jimmy is gonna confirm. Shout out to Jimmy. Just like Probius, he sacrifices himself for the greater good. Oh, Jimmy has got a face. Look at that. That's crazy. Face reveal for Jimmy. In the meantime, though, the Dark Templar gets into the main base, and it is going to start slicing up the workers. A good bit of damage done as well. We have one other Dark Templar here in the middle. Oh, we pulled the SCVs, but how many scans do we have, Clem? Okay, Clem still has 2 scans. But that's one. This is not usually what you do against a Dark Templar push. Because obviously, in the meantime, right, this is so much damage dealt. You just send in Dark Templar one at a time, and the scans are going to be used up. Still, though, the Terran SCVs here are, well, tanking a bulk of the damage. And this is a super scary Terran army. I think Clem has had enough. And rightfully so. GD does get cold, but that was on a razor's edge, still at the very end. Okay, with the score all tied up, we find ourselves on the map a white rabbit. Let me move it up to the regular game speed. There we go. I was wondering why that probe was moving so slowly. Command center goes up on the low ground. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, everything's very normal. No proxy pylons. No shenanigans just yet right here for herO. You know what? The age-old rule, right? In StarCraft 2, when you see your opponent doing something stupid, just go kill him. It still works. I mean, Clem had to think and sit there for a while, and then he realized, wait a second, what if I just pull the boys and we go? It feels really weird though, and that's why I was a little bit hesitant when he first pulled it, because if you're only a handful of command centers, you have a few scans available. The only thing that can really... Yeah, it's annoying when like one Dark Templar gets warped in at a time, but really the only thing that can stop you there is some form of splash damage. And Jimmy confirmed that there was no splash damage, right? We saw the Marine Scout going into the main base. It was checking, is there a Templar Archives? No. Is there a Robo Bay? Also no. So if there's no form of splash, maybe just pull the boys, save up that energy in the orbital commands, try to get the job done. Usually a bad idea against the Dark Templar build, because they're just going to warp in a couple Dark Templar here, a couple Dark Templar there, and without a Raven, you can't really deal with it very well. But Clem executed that to perfection. Twilight Council. I was just going to say, do we just go normal Blink first this time around? No. No, of course we don't. Why make Blink Stalkers when you could not make Blink Stalkers? Instead, we go into good old charge slots. Fair enough. Clem is going to go into the much more conventional follow-up, and of course, this is one of the great frustrations that Terran players deal with. Protoss seems to have so many different mid-game options. So many early-game transitions, and while Terran can make a wide variety of units early on, it all leads to this, right? We're going to go into Stimpack, we're going to go into Combat Shields, we're going to go into a Dark Shrine yet again. Ay, 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 ay. This is charge slots into... sure, why not? Forge. I'm assuming we will get Blink at some point in time, but... So what can you do here as a Terran to hard counter this, right? What can you really do to deal with this really well? There's a bunch of stuff. For example, Cloak Banshees. What in the world does herO have here against Cloak Banshees? Spoiler alert, nothing. Absolutely nothing. No defense whatsoever. No detection, not even any real anti-air. I mean, we have a couple Stalkers, but the Stalkers are not going to be able to really chase down a bunch of... You'd be in so much trouble. I think it's one of the issues, though, with, well, Terran in general, but also with the way that Clem likes to play. It's pretty predictable. Like, Terran in general is predictable in this matchup. There's only so many options you really have. But Clem pretty much always goes for the stock standard approach. And while this is a triple Rex opener, a little bit different than what we've been seeing so far, it's by no means crazy, right? It's not really something that herO is going to be... well, surprised by. Yet again, we go for Shadow Stride Research. More Dark Templar. Charge is already done. The invisible men are out on the map. There they go. They have to make the long trek straight across. Not such a bad idea, though. Here we go. Start slicing. That's one scan down. Clem has got to be wondering now. Okay, do we go back home? Haha, he was pulling the boys. Oh, no. Clem needs to go all the way back. He does make the executive call, though, to just call it quits. I think it's the right move in the end. Because Dark Templar really are strong here. It's 2 CC. You're going to have like 1 scan available. Maybe 2 at most. You're not going to be able to stop Dark Templar. And in the meantime, herO goes for a 4th Nexus. Now we're talking 4 Nexus Protoss against 2 base Terran. This is Zealots into just Dark Templar? Really? If this 4th Nexus somehow lives, Clem is in a world of trouble. Invisible men used here as well for the base defense. Not too shabby. Man, I've seen some games similar to this from herO lately, or recently rather, where he did very similar things yet again. Technically, it has a lot of weaknesses, but his opponents rarely seem to really keep him honest. Okay, well, ultimately, this 4th Nexus is going to fall. But we still end up with a really good 3-base eco versus 2-base Terran. 4th Nexus just restarts again. Under the vision of the Terran. Actually, just barely outside of it. Some Dark Templar are slicing away whatever they can hit on top of the high ground. What a gamer. What an absolute gamer. Yeah, and this is entering the territory where you pick up your mouse and you fling it through the room. The stakes aren't that high for these players, I suppose. I mean, there's money on the line, but both of them have done well for themselves financially over the years. Clem actually switched back to using a wired mouse. I wonder if... I don't know if he's still using it. I know he switches his hardware quite a lot, but... maybe the wired mouse is beneficial here. Can't fling it as far. Now the Zealots get into the base. GG gets called. Wow, herO gets the job done again. Alrighty, game number 4. We find ourselves on Winter Madness. And yet again, herO starts this game off with a straight Worker Scout. The game begins, we make a starting probe, then we send one of those bad boys straight across the map. The bullying begins early. Now, will Clem stand up to his bully? That's the question. Because so far, kind of feels like he's been handing over his lunch money a little too easily. herO cutting corners left, right, and center. And somehow never getting caught for it. Now, sometimes we do see series, of course, where herO does get countered every step along the way. I mean, the games that he played at the 2025 World Cup come to mind, where he played some really strong StarCraft across the board, but in some of the games, his opponents just figured it out perfectly. And when he gets countered like that, the games look foolish. Like, you wonder to yourself, what in the world is herO even trying to do? How in the world would this ever work? But then you have series like this, where it just seems to work repeatedly over and over and over again, and herO kind of looks untouchable. Who did herO play against again in the EWC? There was that game he played on Persephone with the Proxy Stargate, where he tried to go Tempest Proxy on the other side of the map, and Zork was not having it at all. Was that herO? Was it herO? The games are a while ago at this point already. But what I'm trying to say is that when the shenanigans doesn't work, it does just straight up look like an absolute clown show. It just doesn't look impressive whatsoever. Twilight Council. On the back it is again for herO. Now, will we go for a Dark Shrine again? We have seen Dark Shrines 3 out of 3 games so far. Is it going to be blink? Is it going to be charge? It's blink! What? Conventional StarCraft? Safety shield battery? I think this is still actually, though, herO playing it very smartly. Because what are the odds now that Clem is gonna try and counter you? Already, we've got a bunch of Reapers here together with a Hellion. Not ideal against this type of Stalker start at all. You can see that Clem just got reverse Uno'd here. Just a few Stalkers saying, no you. And that was about the entire defense. We have a Widowmine drop on the back of this as well. Clem trying to take control of the pace. This is not too shabby though. But it does look like a much more normal macro game. Triple gateway into a third base. What are you gonna build? No, you're just gonna go into the gas. Here's the Widowmine drop. Clem is really good at these, by the way. He doesn't play it that much anymore these days. Yeah, this is much better already. Here comes the rest of the Terran army trying to sneak into the main. Yep. Around the corner we go. The Jetpack Raiders. They're too cool for ramps. And this is nice right here by Clem, right? I mean, these units are going to get cornered. They're not going to go home. I'm assuming they knew of that before they made the commitment. But that is 9, now 10 probes dying in total. Okay. Terran can breathe again. That's nice. There will be a counterattack with Stalkers. But it's a late third Nexus. The Protoss economy is not amazing. And while this is always scary... No, we pulled a boys? Really, Clem? Oh, that seems a little risky. Aggressive blink forward, though, here by herO. Pulling the boys here may have just been the right call again, just like in game number 2. They're tanking so much of the damage, and they're making it difficult here for herO to really get proper micro done. That blink forward was kind of insane. herO oozing confidence, but I wonder if he's going to pay the price. Do we pull the boys again? I wonder if we can continue with it. Stimpack is only seconds away from done now. New siege tank. Ferried out of the main base. Observer is going to scout right here for herO. That indeed the reinforcements are going, and that includes the boys. Okay. herO wanted to wrestle in the mud. Turns out he's gonna get a wrestling match. These Stalkers are still here hanging out. Killing a bunch of units, but what about the main fight? Interestingly enough, the SCVs are now so far behind all of this that I wonder if it's still worth pulling them at all. Clem decides to double down. Immortal is available though, and there is a shield battery. Now the workers need to be pulled for herO too. Immortal tried to retarget onto the siege tank. Did get the job done, but only for one shot, as the entirety of the Terran army also retargeted here. SCVs have now finally made their way in. The Stalkers have made their way back home. An absolute mess, but it's a hold for herO. Yeah. So, 25 probes down, 17 SCVs gone. Keep in mind, though, that herO is on 2 bases. Normally, whenever we see this situation, Protoss is on 3 base. If there was indeed a third Nexus on the back of this, I would love this spot for herO. Right now, not so much. 2 base versus 2 base, similar work account. Terran will pretty much always trade more cost effectively. I don't hate it. Templar Archives coming up yet again. This worked out, of course, in one of the previous games already. Map number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Observer is going to get sniped here. Stalkers on the high ground. There's a clear indicator something is providing vision. There was no prism. No observer. Or no hallucinated phoenix, rather. So it was really the only way to get that vision. Stalkers do not quite see the medevac moving out. Prism, though, is thinking about moving in. Both players want to move into each other's main base. Storm, by the way, starts up again. Stalkers on load. Siege tank in the back of the natural. Yeah, getting a good hit in. Good pick up there as well. What about the Marine over here? Ooh, this is nice. One of the Immortals not living up to its name. It did retarget onto the Marauder, but that's not good enough. Now it means that the third Nexus is in trouble too. Clem getting a bit of a freebie there. Not bad. Pylon is going to get targeted down. Stalker goes down too. We head into the main. Do we pull the boys again? I mean, honestly, we could. Clem decides not to. The main problem is that the next source of splash, right, is soon available. herO's not even bothering chronoing it out. Kinda crazy to me. It really is pivotal to the defense. He's got 5 high Templar. Storm is indeed going to finish up. No reason to panic. No reason to chrono. He's going to test right now, though. If he can indeed get the Storm down, and he gets it, but a little later than you ideally wanted to. Slight bit of panic there on the side of the Protoss. The Widowmine field is being set up, making it difficult for Protoss to blink forward, for any charge slots to charge in. I think Clem has Protoss exactly where he wants him. Yep, this third Nexus is going to fall. No additional command center, though, here for Terran. Oh, he moves in. I don't think we need to move through. No, I think we back up. No additional command center here for the Terran player. Instead, he decided to double down on the aggression by making additional barracks. Kinda crazy. Ghost production, by the way, has begun. There is that third base. He didn't make it, but it's only just now heading down to the low ground. Yeah, this is great here for Clem. Buying time here is all he really needs to do. There's one more Storm available, I think. Yeah, there is. Another Immortal is going to pay the price. Another Templar as well. Well, it looks like the Immortal lives for now. New Nexus, by the way, started up a little bit south of here. High Templar get EMP'd. And while Clem is bleeding out a lot of units, he is getting the heavy hitters from the Protoss taken care of. Just rallying more and more troops across the middle of the map. Man, why won't this Protoss player just die? herO's units really do seem insanely resilient. Clem has got the third base up and running, though. Orbital Command finally started up. He did not even bother making any add-ons here. That's usually the indicator that you want this game to be done. You want it to get over with ASAP. Need to be careful that you don't overextend. He decides to try a different angle. We'll now see indeed that the Nexus is coming up. EMPs need to be landed properly onto the Templar. Ooh, careful. Widow Mines, not too shabby. Feedbacks, okay, not too bad either. Yeah, and despite the fact that herO has been behind in supply for a long time, he's really getting some proper value out of his army. You know what's missing in this game? Dark Templar, clearly. Stim gets activated again. I don't think you can go through the choke point. Okay. Immortal production, still very good. The Immortals, together with the Archons, against the against the Marauders and the Ghost here, not too shabby. Neither player, though, brave enough to really tech up. We got a 4th command center here for Clem. Clem really would like to see if he can get a denial on the 3rd Nexus, but it looks like we have to give up on that plan. Medevac drop in the natural expansion. Main army here of the Terran is moving around the site. This is a good snipe still for Clem. Yeah, of course, Terran always wants to be on even basis, and right now we're in a scenario where not only does he have the bigger army, he also is going to be a base up, which is massive. Action is on herO, but so far, Clem does not really give him a lot of wiggle room. Medevac drop from the main base has arrived over here now. These are well upgraded Marines. At least they've got Stimpack and combat shields. Now they're being left behind as they target down as many of the boys as they can. Here's the counterattack, though. Some nice storms do fall, but they also hit some of the zealots. Here's the rest of the Terran army moving in around the site. This is the main army that was out on the map. Some big EMPs as well. Soften up the vast majority of the Protoss units. And I think that this is going to be enough here for Clem. Reinforcing units are going to join up with the main army now. This Immortal will not be living up to its name. The Vikings are up in the air to deal with any potential Colossus transition, but they are not even a thing. May have to just lend those. Get them out of here. herO's going to stay in this game for a little bit longer. But I don't really see a way out of this ever again. Fourth Command Center, by the way, is now landed over on the left side. Speaking of landing, the Vikings decide to join in. And there it is. We are going to game number 5. Final game of this series is going to be on the map Tourmaline. Clem has decided that he enjoys not being bullied. He started this game off with a Proxy engineering bay blocking the natural expansion, forcing herO to go for what is normally even the 4th base out on the map. This is not the 3rd. Normally Protoss makes the 3rd over here. Sometimes out front. This is the 4th/5th base of Protoss as his very first expansion. Clem cancels the engineering bay. I think this is smart. Right from the get-go, this is going to force herO to, at the very least, slow down a little bit. Right from the get-go, it's going to make the base defense a whole lot harder. Command Center does begin as well inside of the main base, and of course, that's the reason, right, why these engineering bay blocks are something that Terran players are hesitant about. It's nice, because you block your opponent's natural, you slow down their first expansion, but likewise, you also have to spend minerals yourself, so you slow down your own first expansion. I think against herO, though, it's beneficial. Don't let him get into the groove too much. Stand up to your bullies. I think. Or something like that. I don't know. It's going to be a Twilight Council opener for herO. Bully your bullies. That's right. The best way to fight a fire is with fire. Everybody knows that. If your lunch money gets stolen all the time, steal theirs. I think I'm onto something here. We don't even do lunch money in the Netherlands, actually. I've only ever seen that in American movies. You know what Dutch people do? We bring sandwiches to school. The cheese sandwich stereotype is 100% true. No paid for lunches over here. You can actually, like in high school, you could buy lunch, but nobody really did. Everybody just brought sandwiches. There was like a canteen, I suppose, but nobody... That was mostly for junk food. I don't really know what that's like anymore these days, though. They sold a lot of junk food when I was in high school. I highly doubt that they still do, but who knows. All right, it's going to be a Raven here for Clem. So Clem decided to go for the NG Bay block and then straight into a Raven this time around. He does not want to have to deal with any Dark Templar yet again. An additional barracks up inside of the main base. You can also use the Raven aggressively. I actually used to go home during high school, during lunchtime. So my lunch break in high school was like 50 minutes, and I lived like 10 minutes from school. I've mentioned this before, but what I would do, I would min-max RuneScape time, right? Because I played a lot of RuneScape. I figured if I go home really fast, I could play like half an hour of RuneScape. It was perfect. It was really good. Got so much XP in, baby. Yeah, I may have had problems. Anyways, Adepts do shade in. We have a bunker at the front. A lot of Stalkers available. Blink, of course, was already researched. What about the Raven inside of the main base? Well, it's not micro towards the corner. SCV's pooled here, though. Blink towards the low ground is indeed nice. This Raven, can we get it done? Not quite. He did have a blink available, but he did not use it. Probably preoccupied at the front line. Templar Archives on the back of this for herO. who is likely going to be making this Nexus here in a natural expansion in just a moment. Still continues onwards over here, but I think the siege tank has got that Stimpeg research nice and protected. Okay. Charge on the back of this together with Storm. Fair enough. Just trying to get whatever value. Moving around the side, picking up the units. When you have the micro and you have the APM, you may as well. So there's indeed the third Nexus now for herO. Building it in the natural. Third command center in the meantime also starts up. So not a bad spot here for Clem at all. Terran does kind of function like a punching bag in the early days. Or the early game, rather. The early days of a TVP. Okay. So herO actually setting himself up for... And I'm almost afraid to say this, but... He's settling in to what looks like, it appears to be, a macro game. Huh? We get Storm, but no real crazy aggressive intentions. We get Charge, but I think it's mostly just here to stop any sort of real Terran attacks. We get a nice and quick, what looks like a fourth Nexus here in just a moment. Storm drops. Ooh, not too shabby. 6 SCVs end up going down. Quick reaction by Clem, but these units, actually 8 SCVs go down. These units just deal so much damage in a short amount of time. It's one of the reasons why having some vision out on the map in the most likely path that those prisms will travel is very handy. Ghost Academy on the back of this. I don't think Clem can fight this right now. Ooh, can we? He sieges up the tanks. I don't think this is a great position here, but it still works out for Clem, just barely. The fact that he sieged up those tanks in time was big. What we're really doing, though, is trading out the army units. And that is, again, an indicator that we are playing a macro game. Third command center needs to fly on over to the low ground here in a moment. And I'm assuming the Nexus will indeed be fired up now sooner rather than later. Is herO thinking about breaking open this base? I don't think so. I don't think so, herO. Ooh, that's going to be pricey. We do get a decent Storm, I suppose, but... Those tanks are having a grand old time. The tank's really the MVPs of the army so far. Little Marine run by. Jimmy and the boys. Jimmy. Damn. The boys did not like Jimmy very much. They left him behind to be sliced up by a man with swords for hands. Sad days. Second Robo here together with a Robo Bay. Yeah, herO apparently not going for the fourth Nexus at all. He could have made it several times already. A little indecisive, maybe. Now he fires it up. I'm not sure why herO has got so much money in the bank. What went wrong here? Did he just not have any supply available here for a while? Yeah, I guess. A little weird. Anyways. Third command center is now safe onto the low ground. Why I say safe. herO disagrees with me. There is another counterattack imminent. There is Storm available, but you can't unload inside of the dead space. Storm over here. No, feedback's over there. Okay, not too shabby. The extended thermal lens coming up here for herO. He did make a second Robo, but he's not using it for anything. Just using the original one to pump out one Colossus. And I feel like this is where herO can kind of miss out a little bit, right? So obviously we haven't really had any big macro games so far in this series, but Clem is just cleaner in the macro games across the board. You wouldn't really catch Clem hitting multiple supply blocks. Look at this again, another big one. You wouldn't catch Clem having a second Robo facility that is not doing anything ever since it was produced for minutes. Clem's mechanics are rock solid. And it is something that herO, can sometimes struggle with. It's the inconsistency, right? That's mostly the issue, I guess, for herO. He can do it. I've seen him do it many times, but sometimes he seems to have like a negative spiral of macro somehow. When one supply block leads to the next supply block. That is something that Max Specs, for example, is usually better at. It's something that Classic is usually better at as well. That's not to say that they are better late game players in the first place, but herO usually does rely on his tricks quite a lot. And it worked out really nicely for him so far in this series, but in these last few games, Clem seems to have his number. Clem trying to activate the snowball again, right? Trying to create a avalanche of Terran here. He does really enjoy that momentum-heavy playstyle where he keeps rolling, rolling, rolling. Needs to be careful, though, that he doesn't get too committed to the aggression. But at this point, Terran is pretty much maxed. I wouldn't mind having... okay, I was going to say a second engineering bay. He does have it, and he does fire it up. Ooh, storm over on the right side of the map. One of the medevacs does go down. There's a crashed mothership, by the way. That's a big mothership, isn't it? How have I never noticed this before on Tourmaline? Has this always been here? Must be. Oh, there's another one down south as well. What in the world? That's a huge mama ship. They say it's not the size of the mama ship that matters, but I disagree, dude. Bigger is better. Anyways, herO moving through. Planetary Fortress, though, and there is an awful lot of Terran nearby. Storm onto the siege tanks. Vikings up in the air trying to target down the Colossi. The base does fall, but at what cost? So many Protoss units will pay the price, and I think Clem is going to try and counterattack immediately. Does Clem have a backup command center? No, he does not. Not yet. Do we not commit more to a counterattack? I think we are. He's just taking a moment here to breathe and let the medevacs heal. herO, though, yet again, forcing his opponent to get something done. Drop over on the right side of the map, yet again, very efficient. My concern right now, though, for Clem is that his additional bases are super slow. If herO can actually sit on 5 nexus for a while, the units that he just threw away trying to get that fight done, look at the nosedive here, he's going to be able to catch up just fine. It is kind of beautiful, isn't it? It's a literal flying city. Do you think it's fun to space around on a mothership? Probably. I think that's the verb you need to use, right? Spacing around. Stalker push over on the right side, though. Decides to move in. No apparent reason, really, for this. Maybe herO wants to get rid of some of the supply so he can remax with better units, but seems a little unnecessary. He's got 86 probes. Oof. So expensive. I mean, yeah, he's killing some SCVs, but I don't think Clem really cares that much. A 6th base, by the way. Starts up here for herO yet again. We have a 5th command center here too, but I mean, Clem finally is going to be able to continue money or mining here and try to get some more money here in this game. Army size, though, the Terran units still need to be respected. Cloak activated. We're going to go for some snipies. That's a few of the High Templar falling. Immediate counterattack yet again. Immediate retaliation here from Clem. He notices that there's not a lot of splash damage if there's no High Templar in the mix. I mean, the Colossi are, I guess, very scary. But they do need a bit of a buffer in front of themselves. Medevac drop. Oh, flying in formation towards the right side of the map. We get that V shape on the minimap. Planetary Fortress in the middle now. Yet again. Can you jump this, herO? You've done it once before. The majority of the Terran units seem to be loaded into the medevacs, and they're going to be committing to the counter here. Recall. Oh, no. What are we recalling? That's so dangerous. It's the Colossus mostly. I wonder if we fight this. Do we not? I guess he's worried for the reinforcement showing up. Okay, tap the Nexus, go home. Fair enough. It's so dangerous to recall Colossi, because you never know where they're going to appear again after the recall completes, right? If you have 3 Colossi out here and 2 Immortals in the back, yeah, everything is gonna die. Counterattack here yet again. herO gets everything in one big ball here in the middle of the map, but Clem likewise also has the units in place. Good blink there, preventing the Vikings from moving forward and sniping the Colossus. New command center over here as well on the left. herO yet again starts up the base over here on the far right. All the army units, though, are condensed right over here in the middle. And that planetary fortress is lovely to have. Clem keeps falling back to it. We have an extra starport added into the mix now. That is starport number 3. Oh, are we fighting this? Are we fighting this? Mass repair is nice. Clem would like to go into Liberators. I wonder if herO is thinking about potentially going Skytles, but it doesn't feel like a game where he can really reliably pull that transition off. I highly doubt that Clem is going to give him the time of day to be able to make the Mama ship, get the Tempest production rolling. The problem is if you don't here, as herO, the late game Terran army is exceptionally dangerous. He's mass expending because of it. This is indicative of him not wanting to go into any sort of Skytles. Instead, herO wants to like play like a Zerg. Look at him. He just took the base over here right next to Clem. This is normally the 5th or so of the Terran. herO is making all the bases all over the map. Because he knows that he is going to have a difficult time contesting Terran in a straight-up match. He needs to get that bigger eco. He would love to snipe this base in the middle. It would buy him so much time, but that command center has proven difficult thus far. Storm's trying to push back the Terran units. There it is. Fusion core coming up. Clem trying to get that slow transition going, right? Trying to go into the Liberators, trying to go into the medevac buffs. Getting those late-game Terran upgrades that are so powerful. The Colossus count, though, is so bloody big. New command center over here. Big storm onto the Vikings. Still, though, most of the High Templar now without energy. That's another one getting sniped down as well. Clem will hold on to the base. This Nexus feels very ambitious to me. Do you recall probes towards it and just try to mine it out ASAP? Is that the plan? A lot of these bases are free pickings, by the way, for Clem. herO knows it. So the idea is to keep the pressure up, making it pretty much impossible for Clem to actually go out onto the map and start roaming again. He is trying to get that mass eco. Now, Clem? He is trying to see if he can land his newly made command center on top of, well, whatever this is. You can see the wireframe of the command center. It's a little bit, yeah, it's going to be a little bit messy. It will force Clem's hands, though. He needs to do something. He's struggling using his main army here in the middle against that main army of Protoss. So, are you going to split off just one medevac? Is that enough? Well, he's thinking about it. 4 medevacs headed towards the top left. He doesn't know of this base, but he assumes it's likely there. He's going to find out about this base right over here right now. A little awkward as we have one photon cannon trying to get the job done. This is nice, though, for Clem. No mining here anyways, just a few probes. This base is going to disappear. herO recognizes now that the main army of Terran must be thinned out because there's units committed to the top left. Nexus does fall right over here. Advanced Ballistic starts up. herO only, by the way, on 11 gateways. Yeah, he's adding on a few more right now. I think it's the right call. Little hit squad here, moving in. In the meantime, though, we have the Protoss army repositioning itself, but Clem has been very quick on the mass repairs here. The base in the middle fell once. Since then, Clem has been defending really well, and that will be another Nexus down the drain here. Main army of Protoss moves in yet again in the middle. Vikings, though, start off this engagement much better, and that'll be the last of the Colossus. New ones, though, are going to pop out of the robo facility in a moment. Clem is honestly playing this pretty much perfectly. I love the snipes. I love the small and Or I love the slow progression out onto the map. It's gonna take a long time to be able to win this way, but I do think across the board, Clem is playing this very smartly. Planetary Fortress coming up right now. It's been working out nicely. A free about 1,000 minerals here as well, as the Zealots are going to be caught way off guard. Not enough Protoss units now in the middle of the map to really be able to punish the Terran on the left side in the meantime. They've been recalled, I think, towards the bottom right instead. Terran army needs to run on over in this direction, and they're on their way right now. We have some... Ooh, Purification Nova's trying to move through. Clem decides to pick up. Blink forward here from herO. Trying to pick off a few of those medevacs before they can retreat. Colossus in the middle of the map, misrallied. Careful with that sort of move, herO. They're expensive. I think that's going to be a free Colossus pick. What a beautiful game. Right now, though, the bank of Terran is growing. herO, he's not quite broke. He's got 85 workers and a lot of minerals. But it is starting to look a little bit more dire. This goes, by the way, 8 confirmed kills. Not too shabby. The trading here for herO has been incredibly inefficient. That's the strategy, though. That's what he's trying to do. The plan is to try and overwhelm this Terran player and win in the long run. But up until this point, Clem is defending really well. Look at this. Whoa, that's pretty much a 2-to-1 trade here for Clem. That's crazy efficient. We do see some Zealots now running through. And this is where Clem is just the absolute best Terran player on the planet. It's a 2-to-1 ratio in TVP is crazy. We do see some more storms coming in. But Clem is microing exceptionally well, positioning his units exactly where they need to be. Recreating the opening cinematic from Legacy of the Void once more. But at this point, we need something better than Zealots. herO has decided that apparently we are giving up on the main army of the Terran and instead we're counterattacking. He knows that the Terran army is going to be occupied on the bottom right corner, as he just scanned, and that base will likely fall next. Mass repair again on the command center in the middle. I really like the Terran actually prepared for it. Liberator's trying to fly in this direction as well. SCVs fall, and so does the planetary fortress. Loads of workers do die. herO honestly getting a pretty dang good trade. He's now trying to see if maybe he can push the issue. Decides to back off and use a few storms instead. Nexus in the far bottom right also is gone, and probes are going to pay the price here for sticking around a little bit too long. What about the planetary on the left? Also, that one does fall. Another Colossus bites the dust. Disruptors trying to flank this to the best of their abilities. Both players take a ridiculous amount of losses. Army size, pretty much identical over the last 10 minutes. Income, still heavily in favor of herO, who now is more than doubling his opponent's income. He has 70 workers here versus 31 SCVs. herO decides to commit again to a big counterattack. Those liberation zones are scary. Disruptor gets sniped here. Nice move by Clem. These guys are just on another level. Ridiculously evenly matched, right? Such a beautiful thing. Clem actually all army hotkeying a little here. Probably feeling the heat. He wants to go again for another move towards the bottom right. No Nexus rebuild over here. We do get a scan. Keep in mind, of course, that the Liberators can no longer see at the maximum distance. One of the adjustments in the most recent balance patch. It's making it impossible here for those Libs to actually continue firing at the probes. In the meantime, though, since there's so much happening, Clem is unable to fix it. Instead, he loses another command center at the bottom section of the map. Clem is maxed still, though. And what Clem is doing now is the good old Terran trick of not rebuilding workers. We are going to get 175 or so army supply for Terran, and it'll be up to herO to deal with that with multiple armies. Terran drop heads towards the main base. Medevac extremely low. Instant targeting there by herO. Shield battery here also good enough, I think, to keep this Terran player pinned away. But as the dust settles now, look at the supply count. Look at the income. Look at the amount of resources available. Clem doesn't have a whole lot of money. But somehow, some way, herO has even less. And it's all because of the cost efficiency of the Terran player. Honestly, ridiculously good. Clem is trying his best to just not lose in the long run. And these are stressful games. We're like one storm away from it being an absolute disaster. One purification though. If I can change the tide of this game still. But Clem is playing this out absolutely masterfully. Yeah, and this is the type of game that you look at. You may think you're good at StarCraft, but then you see somebody like this. Clem has been defending for such a long time. This is extremely frantic defense, too. It's so easy to just take a storm to the face. But honestly, Clem is dealing with this all so well. The supply count right now is no longer lying. herO wondering why this Terran player won't just lose. And all he's got now is long-distance mining on the far right. The base in the middle is drying up. This one that he took as his very first expansion is gone. Fourth Nexus, empty. Natural expansion, empty. Main base, no more mining. Now, of course, Clem is by no means rich. But his army is just so bloody big. Look at the army value in the top left. Yeah. So, if Clem can get an engagement against the entirety of the Protoss army, and I believe this may just be it, he is gonna destroy it. Yep, this is it. This is it. GG gets gold. Wow. That's one of the very best games of Terran I've ever seen. Just from start to finish, he controlled that despite being the one that was being punched. Right? Like, that was just half an hour of defense where one little mistake lets the game come crumbling down. And there were a couple of moments, right, when Clem committed to like the 4 medevac counterattack on the right side of the map. That's when herO killed 2 Nexi or 2 command centers, 2 planetaries of his own. It's kind of insane that Clem managed to keep his head cool there. It's so easy. Like, I'm trying to keep track of all of the different engagements, right? But when you're also trying to macro and you're executing the micro of the actual fights, it's so easy to have 2 Purification Novas slip through the cracks and just somehow kill like an entire bulk of the Terran army, or a bunch of the storms landing on your army because you were looking away. Brilliantly managed there by Clem. Yeah, can't really find a lot of mistakes for him. That was, for all intents and purposes, about the perfect game, I think, for Terran. GG.